Good afternoon, Chris. Thanks so much for coming along and joining us on our Business Owner Spotlight. Liz, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell everybody what it is you do.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Armstrong. I guess I think of myself as a designer, a software designer from Northern Ireland. I've got a small software startup here in Belfast. Well, say Belfast, we're remote now, so I guess just all over Northern Ireland. And we make a brand hub for remote creative teams. So we help the likes of, it's kind of like a specialized Dropbox, I guess you could think of it as. Marketing teams kind of bring all their guidelines, libraries, and projects together in one visual hub so they can build the brand better together, keep everyone on the same page, and so on. So we've been doing that since about 2013. So it's going nearly 10 years, although it started out as a sort of side project and has just grown very gradually since then.
And you touched a little bit on what you do. Who's your ideal customer? Who would be the best buyer of your product then?
Asking for a favorite child. We sell to with a lot of customers worldwide. We've got the likes of the big names you'll have heard of, like the PlayStation, Paramount, Disney, a lot of entertainment folks, and creative companies. In terms of best customers, the PlayStation's probably up there just in terms, not because of the size of the contract or part of it, but the likes of PlayStation and Disney have been really good partners for us, where we've really worked with them to, they've really helped us shape the product.
Cool.
So there's been customers that are just transactional, we're doing a job for them, that's fine. But the likes of PlayStation, Disney, and then other companies that are a bit smaller you wouldn't maybe have heard of, like there's like Rent Sync and Tween Team. We've really built relationships with them and really worked with them to understand their needs, and they've helped us shape the product as it stands today and as it's going forward. So any of those customers where we're really working with day to day, or well, certainly on a regular basis, Nordstrom and State.
Repeat customers, you're nearly being a part of their team then, essentially.
You're effectively, well, I don't know if I'd presume that, but you're certainly building a relationship there, and being a core part of their workflow at least, being a core partner for them, certainly.
And that works better.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, where we see them as really necessary. The likes of Nordstrom and State, we've been working with them for 5-6 years at this point. And touch base once a month, and get great feedback on what we're working on, and really help shape what we do going forward. So it's kind of that's been critical.
Yeah, and you mentioned there you're going from 2013, and it's pretty remote. But did COVID have a big impact on the business? Was there anything you had to put in place because of it?
Yeah, so we had 2020. There was 4 of us, I think, at that stage still. And we were all in an office. We had an office in Belfast City Centre, and there was a little bit of remote working. Maybe once or there was one person would work remotely once or a couple of days a week. But then when lockdown happened initially, and of course you remember, it was sort of like, this is just going to be for like a month or so.
Yeah, see you in a week's time.
I kind of from the get-go suspected it would be about 6 months.
Okay.
Anytime, everyone was kind of like, it'll be over by Christmas. Like they said that about World War I. I was like, this is probably going to go on for a few years. So I did anticipate it being at least 6 months, but kind of 6 months turned into a year. And about 6 months in, we'd figured out our processes and so on for working remotely. It was going well, and we started to go, okay, maybe if this is going on for at least another year, we need to start thinking of ourselves as a remote company. And then towards the end of last year, actually, we just got rid of the office because we hadn't been in it for a year and a half. And there have been a lot of changes need to be made to make that work. Obviously, as a software company, we're better suited to remote working probably the most, and as long as we've got a laptop and a good internet connection, theoretically, we're good to work. But there's all the interpersonal stuff and the dynamics working with a team that we had to figure out. One of the things we really learned early on was the need of having that kind of daily FaceTime with people and interaction, and that the kind of the office cooler, the banter and so on that you get when you're sitting around the desk together. You lose that very quickly if you're just sending messages over Slack or something like that. And things can start to break down very quickly if you're not careful. So what we started doing was having kind of a Zoom call every morning to have a catch up. And initially it just was us talking, and then it just turned into me talking and everyone listening, about work, and everyone just sitting listening. So what we started doing was playing games.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you've heard of Exploding Kittens. It's like Uno, but like it's a card game.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the first one we started playing was Scribble, which is like a Pictionary, an online Pictionary.
Okay.
And Exploding Kittens and stuff. Like, just stupid games,
Yeah.
but obviously party games. We play them for half an hour, and we still do that every day for half an hour in the morning. And kind of, it just means you have that kind of relaxed time together. I mean, if we were in an office, we'd waste more than half an hour.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
Every day chatting. So I see it as an investment. And
Yeah.
it's the best part of the day. And that means you've always got that touch point every morning.
Yeah.
And honestly, after a few months, we were closer after lockdown than we were to begin with. I would say. So I mean, the team's bigger now and so on, but it's just become a core part of our culture.
Brilliant. And that's something you feel then probably not go back to the office, but you'll just have that bit of fun in the morning each day then.
Yeah, I mean, if we got another office, no one would want to go into it at this point. And we've definitely found that we're able to have that personal time together, or social time together, and then get the heads down and work on stuff.
Yeah.
We're actually, I would say, we're more productive than we were.
Let me ask, have you measured productivity at all, or?
It's more anecdotal than measured, but definitely we all feel like we're getting more done. When we were in the office, again, it's a small team.
Of course.
It's hard. It's a small team in a small office. You just get distracted constantly. If there's one person having a problem, everyone's having that problem.
Yeah.
And so it's been much better to just kind of help us to each focus on things. We then, we need to have a good cadence of every month. There's probably one or two kind of in-person days every month.
Okay. Yeah.
That's sort of strategy days. Those days are great for discussion, alignment, debate, planning. Terrible for getting anything done, and terrible for actually being productive. And that's what we find is we're way more productive when we just get back to our desk and work on stuff.
Yeah. So one good strategy day and like 29 good productive days in.
Yeah, pretty much. And the other thing we find is we've been using tools like Loom and so on, because it's a lot easier to share video and so on than it ever was before. At the end of the day, everyone will do a video update of what they worked on that day. It becomes like a little TV channel you watch, or a little personal podcast that everyone keeps in the loop going on.
Yeah.
It means as well that, so we're using those videos to kind of do presentations and then when we have a meeting or when we have a call, the call is about discussion. Everyone's kind of watched the video or read.
Yeah.
The call is for the discussion rather than a presentation where you just got 5 people sitting.
Yeah, you've actually had some time then to digest and have a purposeful discussion. That sounds brilliant. And using technology then to aid that, it's fantastic. So, I mean, obviously, COVID was a catalyst to that. COVID aside, what's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner then?
Probably just the importance of it boils down to relationships. That I think when I started, so my background was in sort of graphic design, web design, that kind of thing, and very much felt like, well, I just need to make a cool website and just sit back and wait for the money to roll in.
Yeah.
And if it's good, people will find it, and that's not how the world works. And it all boils down to relationships ultimately. And if you want to build a business, you have to get out there and knock on doors and meet people and make friends. And pre-COVID, I would have made a point of a couple of times a year going over to the States and kind of for a week or 2 weeks. Well, one time it was 5 weeks, which was insane, but kind of doing kind of like a road trip and just set up a lot of meetings and that kind of thing. We have done a lot of demo, obviously with when things went remote. On the one hand, there was an opportunity. I feel like there was an opportunity for a couple of months where you could just get a Zoom call with anybody because of the novelty of it. But that is very quickly locked down again, and it's kind of reverted to. It's quite hard to sort of get people on a Zoom call now because people are just, their days are full of it. And so I'm looking, now that things are opening up again, I'm looking forward to getting out there again and
Yeah,
actually meeting people in person and doing those road trips again. Because again, it's just so much easier to build rapport and trust in
yeah. You
person.
get more energy person to person, don't you, than you do on the screen.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's interesting. You know, the relationships with staff and the relationships with your customers, and that's where you're putting a priority, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, remote, I'm not saying remote's better than in person. It's just they're different. I think
It's
they're
a
equally
different balance,
good,
isn't it?
and it's the balance, and it's recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of both.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but it's certainly when it comes to sales and so on, I feel like there's a chemistry that you can get in person in a room. But that said, a lot of our customers are still working remotely, so it's going to be challenging to figure out how to get those meetings that we
yeah.
did before, because you can't just rock up to a city and say, I'll be in your, you know, can I pop into the office? Because half of
Yeah.
them won't be in the office.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. So, and that leads me nicely then into the next question. What have you found has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome then?
Um, in general, through business, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I've been very fortunate, I guess, in the way things have played out. I've always had a lot of support from family. My dad was a business owner, you know, had a successful business, so I've always had that kind of support, you know, at least mentally and
Yeah,
emotionally. Where others, you know, telling their parents they're quitting their job and going out on their own, you know, might have been like, "Well, are you sure? Have you thought
yeah,
about this?" With me, it was kind of like, "What took you so long?" You know, so it was. I've always had that support, and I've always had that kind of experience, voice of experience to go to when there has been any challenges. So I feel like I've been very fortunate in business in general, in terms of having all that support and advice. So I've avoided a lot of pitfalls that kind of were hard-earned lessons for the
yeah,
previous generation. Um, I guess things that I'm starting to learn are, I mean, for me, it's more my, you know, overcoming my own personality and those kind of things, and realizing, okay, well, my weakness is I'm not a good sales guy. You know, I'm a good designer.
yeah,
I can build rapport with people, but in terms of actually going out there and generating leads and all that kind of stuff, it's a very different skill set. So for me, it's been about building the team around me, finding the right people who can do the things that I can't do very
yeah.
well, protecting my headspace so I can focus more on the things I
You can
do
do
well.
it. Yeah, that's
Um,
really interesting. And you know, it did take you a long time to get the confidence to say I don't do everything so well. You know, when you know if you're going sort of 9 years, like was that year one or was that year five? Or,
that's like 3 months ago.
yeah, I just realized this morning.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, probably about a year ago, actually. It was,
Okay.
I mean, for the first, let's see, 2013, for the first 3 4 years, it was just me
Yeah.
and some freelancers that I was
Yeah.
using. So it was 2017 before I hired my first member of staff, and that was a really scary thing to have to
Takes a
do.
lot of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like you get to that point where you realize, okay, but it's a bigger risk not to than
Yeah.
it is to take them on. So,
Yeah.
um, and then we went up to two, and now we're up to six at the moment. So still quite small.
Yeah.
It's a nice team size. We've got a good dynamic. So yeah, it really was probably literally a year ago or so, or like sort of halfway through lockdown, where I was like, you know, I was starting to realize that I was spinning a lot of plates, chasing my tail a lot of the time, and spending
Yeah.
most of my time on things like project management and stuff that I'm not good at all.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And kind of felt like, because I'm the boss, I maybe need to be good at that, and then I'm
Yeah.
learning, well, just not, and everyone's suffering because of it. So about a year and a half ago, about a year ago exactly, we brought on a project manager to kind of
Okay.
on that role, and that's been a real game changer as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, there's been a lesson there for me, just like, you know what, people's brains work differently. People love
Yeah.
doing this that I hate doing. Find those people.
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's probably a painful journey to go on to find that to get that lesson. Have you come across any favorite quotes or sayings that are serving you well along the way?
I guess related to that is sort of you can do anything, but you can't do everything. I've always had that problem, but I can generally turn my hand to a lot of different
Yeah.
things, a lot of different skill sets, but I don't have the headspace to do more than one or two.
Sure.
To learn to focus has been one. If you're talking, you're not learning is another one.
Okay.
I really need to I still need to learn that one. I talk way too much. I think by talking, which is the
Okay.
problem.
Yeah.
And I guess onwards and upwards. Like that's what I'm learning with a business is that it's an endurance test. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And especially, I always chose very intentionally to not go after investment or VC funding or anything like that. I wanted to bootstrap it and build a sustainable, profitable business. And that just takes time, and it's a slog. And unless you're prepared for that, and unless you're stubborn enough to just stick through it, you won't. But I think again, it helps back to the thing of having my dad look to. I could see where he was successful in business, and yet he was still feeling like the thing was all going to come crashing down any second. It's like, okay, you know what? No matter what stage I get to, I'm always going to learn to enjoy it.
Be in the moment. And so what does the future look like for you guys then? And what do you see as the main challenges moving forward?
I think we're out of COVID, but now we're hitting the recession, so that's going to be a fun challenge. Probably similar things of budgets being cut and layoffs and so on that we'll have to navigate. But again, keeping ourselves nimble and flexible worked well through COVID, so it's just going to be a case of batten down the hatches again and get through it. Where on the product side, we're working on a new product that's kind of very much taking all the stuff that we've learned for the last 10 years of looking at this particular workflow of brand and marketing teams. And so we're working on like a brand new product that'll really address a lot of issues we've seen. So really excited about that. But that'll be a sort of 6 to 12 month project where we're starting hopefully start to show it to kind of those key customers and partners in the next few months and start to get their feedback and build on that. So that's the bit I love doing. Is really just working with customers, making the product better, basically, and everything else is just to basically pay the way to do that.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff ahead, and that's fantastic. And so just to finish up, then, if you were to start your business again, is there anything you would do differently?
Whether I'd actually do it or not, but I definitely think I'd like to think I'd give more focus to sales and so on up front, rather than again just having a naive idea that if I just make something good, that'll just sell itself. That's been the hardest thing to learn for me, is just that you have to get out there and you have to sell it, and nothing sells itself.
And if somebody was coming to you for advice, if they were going to go into business for themselves, what piece of advice would you give them?
I think it'd be just be prepared for the endurance side of it. Don't. I remember a year in, sort of making the decision. I'm going to give, if I can afford to, I'm going to give this 5 years. And if it's 5 years, it's still just me and I can't afford staff and I haven't grown, okay, maybe it's time to call it quits at that point. And it was really just at that 5 year mark when I started to get the likes of PlayStation and Disney and so on knocking on the door. And so it just takes time, and you do have to kind of balance that thing of, because there's all this at the back of your mind, you're going, am I throwing bad money after good kind of thing? Am I wasting my time here or whatever? But there's a certain element of, you just need to go, well, I'm going to give it 5 years. I'm going to commit an X amount, and see what I can make of that. Because if you don't, you'll get a number of opportunities to quit, and everything about the world is telling you, you know what, we're fine without you, and you're trying to carve out this space for yourself. And it just takes energy and it takes endurance. Yeah.
And 5 years to be an overnight success then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm still working on the 10 years.
Listen, thanks so much for coming on. I always love to hear about a local company doing so well on a global stage. Some fantastic clients there, and the team's growing, and everything sounds really exciting. So thanks for coming on, sharing that all with us.
Thanks so much for your time.